Hey there, my name is Neel Parekh, and today I'm going to be talking about 5 steps that will allow you to run your maid service from anywhere in the world you want. So let me just dive right into it. So who am I? Why am I even qualified to talk about this? My name is Neel Parekh, and I run a company called MaidThis and MaidThis Franchise. Talking a little bit about my early career, I started my career in private equity. I worked at a finance company, and I did tech venture capital. Did that for a few years, and I thought, hey, I'm not liking this. This life isn't exactly for me. So I decided to start a cleaning company. Of course, natural transition from venture capital to cleaning company. In doing that, my goal was to travel the world, and I'm going to dive into this in a bit. But it allowed me to really figure out the pros and cons of remote life and go from there. So now in 2020, I launched MaidThis Franchise. So the MaidThis business started in 2013 and started MaidThis Franchise in 2020. We are the first franchise operation specializing in vacation rental turnovers, and it is a completely remote franchise concept. So work from anywhere, work from home. Someone once called us the franchise for millennials, which I kind of liked. So that is what we're doing right now. I guess another reason I would be qualified to talk about this topic is I also have a podcast. The podcast is called the Remote Local Podcast. The benefits of having a local company and running it completely remote. So I have a co-host who does this exact same thing, except with locksmith companies. And we both dissect how you could have, how you can convert your local business to be remote, the pros of doing that, just general talks about entrepreneurship as well. So I'm also the host of this podcast. So I'm just going to dive right into my origin story and tell you a little bit about who I am. Then I'll dive into the actual 5 key tactical steps. So I worked in venture capital to finance company for all. That's me on the left side over there. And, I liked my job. Everything was great. But of course, I wanted to leave and travel for a while. And I wanted to help support my parents financially. Those are my 2 whys. So as I was working my corporate job, I was trying a bunch of different side hustles to figure out what would work. And eventually, as many people did here, came across a post on Reddit as I was procrastinating about a guy who started a cleaning company to post the step. So I thought, why not give it a shot? And then that led me to start MaidThis Cleaning. We were remote from day one. I was doing this as a side hustle as well. So, the only time which I would have to be local would be if I do in-person cleaner interviews, which would be me running to a Starbucks on the weekend and doing interviews and looking super sketchy. But that was kind of it. So I mentioned this earlier, but the biggest reason I wanted to have a side hustle is because I wanted to work remotely. I wanted to go travel the world, see the world, but I also wanted to do something on the side. So as I started MaidThis, I was like, hey, this is bringing in great money, but this is a local business. I can't do this while traveling. All the blogs for being a digital nomad tell me I need to start a digital marketing company. I need to do e-commerce. I need to do drop shipping. So I kind of was doing that as well, just figuring out what I can actually do as a remote work. And throughout this process, I kind of learned that, hey, you actually can have a local business remotely, and there's huge powers in that because not many people are doing it compared to, let's say, a lot of people doing digital marketing, for example, or a lot of people doing e-commerce and compete against the whole world. You just compete against a local market, but you could actually bring a lot of the elements of global tactics, global marketing tactics, remote workforce to your local level and just completely dominate the competition, which I didn't know until I got into it. But that's one of the key benefits I discovered when doing this. And I'm going to show you different things you can do to do this yourself. So let's dive right into it. Here's the 5 key steps for being location independent with your cleaning business. Step 1, eliminate your office needs. Pretty self-explanatory. If you're going to be remote, you shouldn't have an office. You shouldn't be tied down to a specific location. If you have a screen, that screen can be anywhere, right? I think most of us spend most of our day in front of a screen anyways. It doesn't matter if that screen is here in Los Angeles where I am, if it's in Timbuktu, if it's in Colombia. As long as there's Wi-Fi and you have a screen, I think you're good to go. Step 2, we're going to talk about how to actually build a remote team. Some people I've spoken with who have remote local businesses have a boot on the ground team, which is totally fine. We went the route of having an actual remote team around the world. So our team is across about 7 or 8 different countries at the moment. And I'm going to show you the steps I take to find those team members and build your team. After that I think it's very important to build a remote culture. Right, especially now, in a post-COVID world, I think having a remote workforce is very common. But how do you maintain culture? Is it just Zoom happy hours? Like, what are you doing? But I think that's critically important. It's something we've been focused on since 2013, since we've been remote for a long time. Another big step. This is kind of lifestyle related. Ensure you're connected while traveling. I was traveling for about 5 years, and throughout the time, there's times where I just thought to myself, I would pay $1,000 for good Wi-Fi right now. I'm just so pissed off at what you're going to get when traveling. So we're going to discuss a little bit about when you're traveling, what to expect, how to plan for success, so that way you're able to actually run your operations remotely. And last one, the big thing is just, I think, owning the fact that you're remote, which we're going to dive into. Cool. So step one here, keys to making your local business location list. Here's a few things I'm going to discuss. This is under the assumption that you are local, that maybe you're doing the interviews yourself, maybe you have an office manager, maybe you have a local staff, and you want it to be completely remote. I think the beauty of the cleaning industry in general is that the workers typically get dispatched from their homes straight to the job site. Meaning, a lot of people watching this, you might not need an actual office space, and you already know that, right? You just send the cleaners straight to the job site of the customer. This already makes you a prime candidate to have a remote local business, right? Whether you feel it or not, this is cleaning in general is prime candidate for that, because you need to have limited overhead, meaning no office space, and you need to make sure that there's not a place where your workers need to meet, meaning they could be dispatched from their home straight to your job site. There's other industries outside of cleaning which this is the case. For example, it could even be painting. It could be landscaping. There's tons of local businesses which lend itself to this business model, but the key is to be able to send the workers straight from their home to the job site, which is very doable in cleaning. Now, people say, hey, I have employees, I need to give them supplies. How do I do that? Many creative ways to do it. You could have a little storage space if you'd like, and have cleaners pick up supplies there. You could simply reimburse the cleaners for the clean supplies, which is an employee model, in which you pay them, let's say, $5 per home they clean for their own supplies, and provide reimbursement for that. Disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer. Look at your state's labor laws, but there's many, many ways you could have a remote workforce, whether you have independent contractors or employees. Other requirements: ensure limited overhead, no office space. Ensure key management pieces can be done virtually. The key things you need to think about is who's picking up the phone for customers, who's picking up the phone for the cleaners, and who's doing scheduling. And then guiding the company forward over time, you need to have managers in place as well. We just discussed this. Select a business that's not very capital intensive, so no retail. Have one local manager as needed for tasks like hiring, interviewing. In a post-COVID world, I actually think this is a little bit less necessary than it previously was. Previously, cleaners we would do group interviews, right? And so previously, cleaners wanted to meet in person, or they didn't really know how to do Zoom calls or video calls. Now in the post-COVID world, everyone knows that. So actually, everything we're doing is virtually, and we actually don't need a local manager anymore. Not sure if that's going to come back or not, but in a conservative view, you could say you just have one part-time local manager who's needed to do group interviews, meet customers if needed, things like that. Cool. Step 2, finding a remote team. So let's say you have the cleaners being dispatched from one place to another. Maybe you're managing a lot of that yourself. Maybe you glued your computer in your home and you're taking calls from customers, cleaners, and coordinating everything. Now we got to talk about how you're going to build your remote team, so that way you can't hop on a flight in the middle of the day and go to Colombia and you have your remote team managing everything going on. So how do you find them? We found most of our remote team members through Upwork. We also have found team members on other websites like We Work Remotely. There's a ton of these websites which exist out there. I'm going to show you a trick, because on Upwork, if you post a job ad, you don't really know who's applying. You don't know exactly their qualifications, and it's a lot to sift through. So the biggest thing I've done, which has had a huge return, is post a secret word at the job ad. So we'll have a job ad, which is a very fun sounding job ad. And on the bottom, it says, in your cover letter, write pineapples on pizza is weird. Or write some random phrase like, I love peanut butter. And I'm only going to review the applicants who have that in their cover letter. Anyone who doesn't, I just flat out ignore. This helps you sift through a lot of the crap, basically, and find the people who actually read your job description, resonated with it a lot. And, please make your job description fun. That's what people resonate with. And that's going to help you find some really, really good applicants who have read your application and spent the time to actually put the secret word in the job ad. We always go with a 3-month trial period as well for your remote team. So let's say in a scenario where you are doing all the work yourself and you're bringing on someone finally to manage your cleaners or to take customer calls. Upon onboarding, saying, hey, we're going to do a 3-month trial period, and I'm going to let you know on month 1, month 2, and month 3 how you're doing. and continue to monitor them. Set up a proper training program, set up a buddy system where they just follow what you're doing. You do proper training for them. The more you invest in them up front and set expectations, the bigger gains you're going to have later on. So devote a lot of the time at the beginning for training. If it's someone who's coming in, we say at least 3 months of trial, 1 month of hardcore training, 2 months of just on-the-job training. So there's a lot that goes into what we're doing, and I found that it's truly outsized returns if you do a great training program up front rather than just throwing them into the fire. And one trick of interviewing, always do video interviews at every single stage and multiple stages. So the way our funnel works is we'll post the job ad with the secret word. Next, we'll have people on a WhatsApp video call, 5 to 10 minutes. The stage after that, we'll have the person applying talk to somebody else for maybe a longer interview. And at that point, we kind of discuss a little bit about pay, how things work. Then they go to a third person. And only after that do they actually get a job offer based off of that. You want to see a couple of things. Do they show up to the video interview? How do they look? How's their Wi-Fi, right? Which you can tell from a video interview. You could see if they jump through the hoops of scheduling on different stages as well. You could have them email the next person to schedule the next interview, which shows if they're reliable or not. So there's many different ways to test if someone's going to be reliable simply by moving them through this process. There are geographic specific advantages of remote hiring, which you should think about depending on your workforce. So one example over here, let me go and move this so you guys can see everything. We ended up getting a lot of remote team members in Latin American countries. For example, in Honduras, there's a Spanish-speaking population, which is a great cultural fit for a lot of the domestic workers or cleaners in the LA area. There's a lot of call centers and support centers which have existed in Honduras, so there's an existing talent pool that comes trained with that. Weak currency in Honduras means it's a cost-efficient labor force as well. We've had cleaners in Mexico, Panama, Venezuela, kind of all over. But a lot of what we focus on is Latin America for time zone reasons as well as for Spanish-speaking reasons. Another place we've found success in remote hiring is South Africa. There's a lot of native English speakers there. They have great South African accents, which sound kind of British, so Americans love that. Again, a weak currency in South Africa means the US dollar goes further, which is fantastic, and I feel like it's a pretty untapped talent pool compared to like the Philippines or somewhere else. Right, so step 3 would be building a remote culture. So I feel like sometimes it's kind of a no-brainer, right? Like you say, of course I need a remote culture. What does that even mean? And let me first tell you why I think this is so important. When you have a remote team, you want to hold it together so that way you can go travel the world and do whatever you want. If you just have people doing random tasks for you, all of a sudden they're just going to be little extensions of yourself, and you really are tied down to being in one location all the time, and you can't really take a break. So being remote is similar answer to, hey, how do you actually scale? Part of this, I truly believe, is having a good culture, right? It doesn't mean you have to hang out together all the time, every single day. But having a great culture and a great foundation for a remote team helps keep the glue together, which allows you to have a remote team and build it and scale and travel and do whatever you want. So here's just a couple of things we do. We use Slack for everything, right? Slack is our central communication hub for our remote team. So in there, we have a channel called Random. Everyone will post a photo of the day, or they'll post something funny they did, or just, that's kind of the general place where you have kind of banter. We also do this. I've gotten everyone a Spotify subscription. And right here, something called Jukebox, JQBX. You can search it on Google. And you can listen together, and it's kind of like a DJ session, right? Everyone puts a Spotify playlist on there, and you get turns on who's DJ. So, maybe once a month or once every other week, at the end of the workday, we'll just say, hey, let's hop in here for an hour. Everyone log in with their Spotify membership, and let's just listen to music together. So that's just one idea. We also do tons of Google Meets. So I will see the team members every single day, at least face-to-face on a Google Meet in some capacity. And that's, I think, critically important. So it's not just, behind a text screen of Slack where you don't really know what the person is implying or meaning. But this will allow you to maintain your remote staff as well. Cool. Staying connected while traveling. So this is less tactical, but more about kind of tips I have for you based off of my 5 years of nomading, basically. So let's say you decide you want to go remote. And you're like, great, I don't have an office anymore. The cleaners are going straight from their home to the job site. I have a helper, a remote team member who's going to help me pick up the phone lines, deal with cleaners. Now I'm going to go try to work from another country. How do I make this successful? Here's some tips I picked up from doing this. And, keep in mind that you need to stay connected at the beginning. Right? You need to make sure your remote team member has the support. You need to keep an eye on your business as well. So how do you actually pick the city you're going to go to? How I always do it initially is in a good screening process is what's a hotspot for nomads, for digital nomads? There's places around the world where a lot of nomads gravitate, which is fantastic for a couple of reasons. One, it already filters where there's good Wi-Fi, internet, cost of living. Another one is you're going to have a built-in community if you're searching for something like that. So there's places around the world that you just type in digital nomad hotspots into Google, you're going to find it. Places like Chiang Mai, Thailand, Medellin, there's different places in South America, places in Europe like Lisbon or Barcelona, a lot of places which are hotspots where you already know there's going to be good Wi-Fi. And that's the key, right? You need to stay connected and stay connected. And for that, just follow where everyone else is going who's doing remote work. You also don't need to leave the country. Of course, I'm using this example as leaving the country, but different cities within the US or Canada, you can do the same thing. I personally now always look for a co-working space. I love co-working spaces in any city, and I've realized that I am significantly more productive in a co-working space as opposed to my home. Right? To each his own. That might not be the case for you, but whenever I go to a city, I will specifically pick an Airbnb close to a co-working space and go research how I would like that co-working space on Google by looking at the reviews, and then I would book that Airbnb and go to that co-working space all the time. The reason is it helps me get into a routine much quicker. Right? If I'm just working from home and I'm in a new city, I'm going to be excited. I'm going to go, work from home for a bit and go walk around for 4 hours and come back and work a little bit, which is good. And you should have the flexibility to do that, but on kind of a planned schedule. So anyways, a co-working space allows me to compartmentalize my time that I need to be working and the time that I don't need to be working. Here's one hack is a co-living spaces. So there's places where a lot of other people who live and work remotely live together in kind of a shared, very nice house. So all you simply do is type in co-living space in whatever city you're going to, search on Google Maps, search on Instagram. And I love co-living spaces. I think it's a fantastic way to meet new people as well as make sure you're connected, right? Make sure you're connected to Wi-Fi, make sure you have really good Wi-Fi, and be able to work on your business while you're traveling. So we actually have a whole episode about this, shameless plug, on the Remote Local podcast. We talk about everything at the intersection of entrepreneurship as well as travel. There's an entire episode dedicated to co-living spaces and why they're so great. There's other episodes dedicated to how we pick what cities we're going to go to while traveling, things like that, so check it out. Another big thing is, I think at the beginning, if you start to convert your business to be fully remote, stay in a doable time zone. Right? I like being within 3 to 5 hours of my time zone, which is in Los Angeles, because it just helps me manage my team and make sure things are good. As I scaled my business, brought in more managers, I was able to get to places like Thailand, which is 14 hours ahead. But it is tough to do initially, so start modestly. Don't go too far away from a time zone, just to make sure you can keep tabs on your business. Cool. Last step is just owning it. I think a lot of people, when they work remotely, I see people shying away from it. They don't want to tell their customers they're remote. They want to say, they think they turn off customers by saying they have a remote workforce. I believe the opposite. I think the customers would gravitate towards you and your story if you tell them you're remote. Say, hey, we have an awesome team in South Africa. We have a team in Honduras. They're going to like it. And if people don't like it, that's okay. There's enough customers to be had anywhere. But I think really, really leaning into the fact that you have a remote workforce is going to allow you to attract customers who are like yourself. And that's going to be huge. That'll allow you to have, honestly, even from a business perspective, less complaints. It's going to be more cultural fits with you. It's going to be easier for you to manage. So I really think you should own it. And we even put this graphic on our website saying, hey, this is where our team is. This is who we are. It's not completely localized in Los Angeles. We have team members all over the world and we're proud of it. So I truly encourage you guys to just own the fact that you have a remote team and be proud of it and flaunt it. So those are the 5 quick steps with a limited time to convert your business to be remote and hopefully travel the world. I'm going to talk a little bit about MaidThis Franchise and see maybe if it's a good fit for you. So I already give you a little bit about background about myself. I started MaidThis in 2013, figured out how to make it remote. We scaled to, in 2019, close to $2 million in revenue. And one thing I wish I had at the time was someone just to tell me how to do this. If I could have copied someone's business model, avoided a lot of small pitfalls, I think I could have sped up a lot of what we were doing, even by 1 year, right? And based off of how much we were doing in revenue, speeding things up by 1 year made it would make so much sense just to pay someone to let me know what to do. And that's why I think the franchise model is fantastic, because you could piggyback off an existing business model, have the entire support system. You don't have to do a lot of the stuff like tech and marketing, and kind of scale much more rapidly. So it helps you time collapse. So here's a little bit about MaidThis Franchise. We're the only cleaning franchise specifically targeting vacation rentals. So our focus is both residential as well as vacation rentals, but we've kind of figured out the secret way to do vacation rentals as well. I feel like we have a lot of new age marketing tactics, which help blow away the competition. We have a great tech stack, which I think a lot of people here do as well. And we have been completely remote from day one. So if you do want to be remote, we have the systems created and provide the tools of how to post a job ad on Upwork. Here's the exact copy we use, for example. How to interview these candidates. How to do anything involving remote operations. Talking a little bit about how you're supported in the MaidThis franchise. So there is training, right? There's a 5-week intensive training for you. You get the whole operations manual, which is every mistake we have ever made, everything which has worked. We put in an ops manual for you. It's 300 pages. You have access to the full thing, just every system we've ever created in the last 8 years. Ongoing coaching and support, right? The most support you'll need. Weekly calls, checking your main numbers. We set the numbers for you so you know what targets to go afterwards. If you're concerned about anything, you're not really sure how to do anything, we will support you and provide the coaching for you because, hey, we've done it, right? You're copying our business model. All the tech stuff's done for you. A lot of the marketing is done for you. So you don't have to worry about any of that. All you have to worry about is just executing. So for you, our ideal candidate understands our mission, our niche market, tech savvy. You know, we you don't have the code, but we do use a lot of different software systems. Is financially capable. So typically, including the franchise fee for the first 3 months, it'll cost anywhere between $45,000 to $70,000. A lot of that can be marketing related, maybe legal. Obviously, if you have a lot of that already going, because maybe you've started something already, it can be less. And obviously, it has the ability to make the time investment. As you guys all know, running a business is no joke, and you need to put a good amount of time into it. Some personality traits of people we are looking for: someone who could trust the system. Right? Someone who understands that what you are buying is a set of systems and mistakes I've already made, right? I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars of mistakes that you don't have to make again. And we put it in a very systemized way. Someone who could trust that they're buying that. They could speed things up and make more money by trusting the system. Someone who's coachable. I think that's very key for what we're looking for. Resourcefulness is a huge trait of any entrepreneur. Shares our same core values. Knows that you're your own boss and you got to grow your own business sense. Motivated to make a lot of money and grow your lifestyle business. I specifically say lifestyle business because that's a lot about our core values in my belief system, which is the business is here to support you. Your life does not revolve around the business. You build a business which is a lifestyle business that supports what you want to do, whether that's working remotely or not. I think the business should be supporting you. Talked about the 5-week exclusive training. The ops manual. So like I said, there's a 300-page document, which is all the years of systems we've had, which, you know, you don't have to refigure out everything over here. That's what you get as part of MaidThis Franchise. A one-on-one coaching and support. You get a launch coach for your first couple months. You get 30 minutes weekly, at least, of coaching calls. Review your key performance indicators. Review how you're doing. If you're saying, hey, I'm struggling with marketing, we'll dive into it. Set goals for the week of what to do. Unlimited email and phone support. Anything you need, there's someone to support you and make sure things are answered for you. Exclusive for the first 3 franchises. We launched in late 2020, so relatively new to the franchising world. So what you're going to get is coaching directly from me. I need to make sure the first handful of franchises are immensely successful. So I'm going to be taking care of all the first franchises, do the coaching myself, and make sure you are kind of set up with everything I have learned myself. Training with the existing corporate team. And for your first ops hire, you could actually send them to our corporate team. We'll train them for 3 days and give them back to you as well. All the tech stuff's done for you. You know, we have a very high converting website. We have lead capture funnel. We have all the email funnels created. We're constantly tweaking it. So a lot of that is done for you. You don't need to worry about any of that. So like I said, a lot of the marketing. With franchising, I feel like there's an unfair competitive advantage in terms of marketing because I could take the tactics from LA, give it to our Denver franchise. The Denver franchise might discover something which is working, systemize it, we'll share that with all the other franchises. So it really is a community which we can share with each other what is and isn't working, and just becomes kind of the unfair competitive advantage because we don't have to spend the dollars to test it because someone else in the franchise system is already testing it out. So recap, this is for you. If you're in line with the MaidThis core values, you want to build a highly, highly profitable business. You love the idea of having a team and dominating local market. And more importantly, you want to follow proven systems instead of reinvent the wheel and have the freedom to be resourceful yourself. So if you are interested in this, if you're curious at all, you want to hop on a call and see if this is fit for you, just go to MaidThisFranchise.com. It's right down over here. Fill out a form to inquire. I'll see that directly. Mention you came from the summit, and we can go from there. All right, guys, hopefully this is helpful, and thank you so much for your time.